You're working full-time, you're not lazy, you're not bad at your job, and somehow the math still doesn't work. The paycheck lands, and it's already spoken for before it even hits your account. Here's the uncomfortable truth most career advice won't tell you. Working harder at a low-paying job rarely fixes a low-paying job. The lever that actually moves your income is usually somewhere else entirely. Today, 5 real steps to get out of a low-paying job. Not motivational fluff, an actual sequence. Let's start with the one most people skip. Diagnose why you're underpaid. Before you can fix low pay, you need to know which kind of low pay you're dealing with, because the fix is completely different depending on the answer. Company problem. Your specific employer underpays relative to the market for your exact role. Other companies hiring for the same title, same experience level, pay meaningfully more. This is fixable by leaving the skill and the market demand for it are already fine. The paycheck just isn't matching it. Field problem. The entire field or role type is structurally low paying, regardless of employer. This is a harder truth, but an important one. No amount of job hopping within that same lane closes a large gap if the ceiling is roughly the same everywhere. How to actually check which one you have. Search current job postings for your exact title in your area, not company reviews, actual live postings with pay ranges, which a growing number of US states now require employers to disclose. If postings elsewhere for your same role are meaningfully higher, you have a company problem, and the fix is switching employers. If postings everywhere cluster around what you already make, you likely have a field problem, and the real fix is either specializing within the field toward its higher paying corner, or shifting toward an adjacent field that values a skill you already have. This one step changes everything downstream. Trying to negotiate your way out of a field-wide ceiling wastes energy. Trying to switch fields when you actually just have a company problem is unnecessary. Exhaust the internal option. If you've diagnosed a company problem, there's a fast, low-risk move to try before you start job hunting. Ask directly, with data. Pull the market range you found in Part 1. List your concrete contributions from the last year, and have a direct conversation. Based on what I've delivered and the current market rate for this role, I'd like to discuss moving my pay closer to X. Set a specific follow-up date, not an open-ended, "we'll see." Here's the part that matters most. Give this a real, but short deadline. 2 to 4 weeks, not 2 to 4 months. Some employers will move quickly once you've shown you know your market value. Many won't move at all, and that answer is useful information, not a reason to keep waiting indefinitely. If the answer is no, with no real timeline for revisiting it, that's your signal to move to the next part of this video. Understand why switching employers is the fastest lever. This is the part most people underestimate. Across most industries in the US, switching employers tends to produce a significantly bigger pay increase than staying and waiting for annual raises. Internal raises are usually capped by company-wide budget rules. An external offer isn't bound by any of that. A new employer is pricing you against the current market, not against what you made last year. This doesn't mean switch jobs constantly with no strategy. It means recognize that loyalty to a single employer on its own is not what grows your income. Market-priced offers are. How to actually do this well. Update your resume and LinkedIn to reflect actual, specific accomplishments, numbers, outcomes, scope, not just a list of duties. Apply broadly, including to roles slightly above your current title. Job requirements are frequently a wish list, not a strict bar. And when an offer comes in, don't just take the number at face value. You can often negotiate a first offer up by 10 to 20%. Simply by asking, since most initial offers aren't a company's actual ceiling. The uncomfortable reality here is that the job market, not your current employer, usually holds the biggest lever for your income. That's not disloyalty. It's just how compensation tends to work. Add one high-leverage skill, not a random one. If Part 1 revealed a field problem, not just a company problem, this is where the real unlock lives. Adding a specific, in-demand skill that shifts which pay bracket you're even eligible for. The mistake most people make here is picking a skill because it sounds impressive, not because it's actually requested in job postings for the role they want next. A certification nobody's asking for doesn't move your pay. A skill that shows up repeatedly in postings for roles paying $10,000 to $20,000 more than you currently make, that one does. How to actually find the right skill. Look at 15 to 20 job postings for the role one step above where you are now. Note which specific skills or tools show up again and again. That repeated pattern is your answer, not a guess. Not a trend you saw online, an actual current market signal. Then learn it the fastest, most credible way available. Often a focused course, a certification tied to that specific tool, or a small portfolio project that proves you can do the thing, not just that you took a class about it. You don't need years of study. You need enough proof to clear the bar those job postings are actually testing for. Build a bridge while you transition. Escaping a low-paying job rarely happens overnight, and that gap between deciding to leave and actually landing something better is where a lot of people get stuck or discouraged. A bridge closes that gap. This isn't about building an entire second career. It's about a modest, realistic source of extra income that takes pressure off the timeline, so you're not forced to accept the very next offer out of financial desperation. Financial pressure is one of the biggest reasons people accept another underpaying job, just to escape the current one. A bridge reduces that pressure. This can be as simple as picking up a few hours a week of freelance work in a skill you already have, or a flexible local gig around your schedule. The goal isn't to replace your income. It's to buy yourself enough runway to actually hold out for the market rate offer from part 3, instead of settling for the first acceptable one. Conclusion. So to recap, diagnose whether it's your company or your field. Try the internal ask with real data and a real deadline. Understand that switching employers is usually the biggest lever you have. Add one specific skill the market is actually paying for, and build a small bridge so financial pressure doesn't force your hand. None of this happens in a week, but it also doesn't require years. Most people who follow this sequence see a real shift within 3 to 6 months, not because they got lucky, but because they stopped hoping the current job would eventually pay what they're worth and started treating their income like something they could actually influence. If this was useful, subscribe for more career breakdowns like this, and tell me in the comments which part of this you're on right now. I read every one.